Okay, here is a famous painting at the Hall of Mirrors in Versailles, Louis XIV's famous old capital. And in this painting, we have the king, Wilhelm I, and his son, Prince Frederick, the liberal, with the English wife. And down here, we have von Moltke in blue with the red stripe. And in white, the center of the picture, holding his Pickelhaube helmet, wearing his chancellor's uniform, is Otto von Bismarck. Now, what event is happening in the Hall of Mirrors in 1871 at Versailles? Well, the culmination of Bismarck's work. Bismarck wanted a unified Germany under Prussian command. He wanted it under the King of Prussia and the House of Hohenzollern. How does that happen in an old French palace in the middle of a war? Well, through a lot of negotiation. You see, the king is not the instigator of this. The old King William was made King of Prussia by God. He doesn't want to be anything for all of Germany. He has enough trouble being King of Prussia. But Bismarck wants him to be King of Prussia. Bismarck, in the midst of the fervors and passions of war, gets the other German leaders to agree that now is the time for Germany to stand up. Even King Ludwig the Mad, who has spent his time and money on the fantasies of Wagner's opera and who will build the famous Disney castle Neuschwanstein in Bavaria, this beautiful white fairy tale castle that you can see in the movie Chitty Chitty Bang Bang, goes along with it. And I'm sorry I didn't show you Ludwig the Mad, but he's sort of a sad-looking fellow in the middle of the painting with a beard. They all have beards except for von Moltke, or mustaches like Bismarck. So, they agree that King William will be made an emperor of Germany. Oh, no. Emperor of Germany has too many connotations to the old Holy Roman Empire. What if the emperor gets the sense that he doesn't need any other kings in Germany and wants to get rid of the Wittelsbachs in Bavaria? No. We're going to give him a title. The German Emperor. It may not seem like much, Emperor of Germany versus German Emperor, but it does. It is a statement that basically says that Wilhelm of the House of Hohenzollern, King of Prussia, is also the German emperor, merely the highest ranking aristocrat in Germany, and therefore the one in charge. It doesn't assume that he is in a different status from all other aristocrats in Germany, which Emperor of Germany from the old Holy Roman Empire might. So he is merely the German emperor, the highest ranking. Well, that's what everyone agrees, except Wilhelm. When he's told this idea, he flatly refuses. I don't want to be emperor, German emperor. What the heck does even that mean, German emperor? I don't want to be it. I'm not it. I'm King of Prussia, and I'm happy being King of Prussia. At which point, Bismarck does what Bismarck does. He picks up a crystal ashtray, big, heavy one, and says, "Fine! If you won't take my advice," and he wings it across the room at a fireplace and it explodes in shards, "then I'll leave. I will resign. You can run the kingdom on your own. If you don't take my advice, why should I even be here?" And he begins to storm off. And the old king begins to cry and says, everyone's against me. Everyone's against me. Bismarck, don't leave. I need you. Well, why should I stay if you're going to ignore my advice? He's having a complete temper tantrum. So the king gives in. King agrees. Whenever Bismarck and the king have a disagreement, Bismarck does something like this. But this is the most extreme case, and it's embarrassing. It's embarrassing to anyone who witnesses it, because it's clearly such a gross emotional manipulation. It is such the theater. But the old king wants and needs Bismarck, and so the old king gives in. And so in the Hall of Mirrors, before the end of the Franco-Prussian War, old King Wilhelm is acclaimed German emperor. This is the culmination of Bismarck's dreams. So, after the war, after this, the Republic surrenders and the Paris Commune is crushed. Yeah, they're crushed. The Republic isn't crushed; it just surrenders. But the communards in Paris are crushed by the German armies. Again, Germany, now a unified empire, the German Empire, which follows the borders of Klein Deutschland, Germany, which run from the Memel in East Prussia facing Russian Lithuania, through parts of Poland just north of Warsaw, through Silesia, through Saxony, Bavaria, Baden, Württemberg, into the Rhineland, and up northwards to here, and including Schleswig-Holstein, is now one unified country. And now the question of Alsace-Lorraine comes front and center. Alsace-Lorraine, should it be German or shouldn't it be? And the Prussian General Staff, the German General Staff now, under von Moltke, says, we need Alsace-Lorraine, we need the Vosges Mountains, it's a better border than the Rhine River, and in the next war with France, it'll allow me a bigger jump on Paris than we otherwise would have had. Bismarck says no. We do not want to take land from the French, nor do we want to assign them an indemnity, which is a penalty of money that they pay for losing the war. This will only embitter and anger the French. We have everything we want. We have a unified Germany. But von Moltke says, I need the Vosges Mountains for the next war. And what other German nationalists say, but Louis XIV took this land unreasonably, and we want it back because it's culturally German. And Bismarck says they went through the French Revolution. The French are not going to accept this. You're going to create a long-term enemy. But no matter what temper tantrums Bismarck throws this time he does not get his way. The German General Staff gets Alsace-Lorraine. It becomes a part of the German Empire. And the peace treaty demands that France pay an exorbitant amount of money that is designed to cripple and crush the French economy for the next generation, to prevent them from becoming warlike against Germany. So in other words, instead of winning gracefully and saying, good game, pal, which they did with Austria, the German Empire kicks France while it's down and then takes its wallet. How's this going to work out? Well, as to the indemnity, it's expected that it'll take 10 to 20 years for the French to pay off. They pay it off in 5 or 6 years. Why? Because they, as a nation, left and right, are so furious at the Germans for carving away a part of France that went through the revolution. They want revanche. They want revanche. They want revenge. They want Alsace-Lorraine back. And from the end of the Franco-Prussian War until the end of World War I, the one thing that unifies all the French people is a national desire to revenge themselves on the Boche, on the Germans, for stealing their land in Alsace-Lorraine and for trying to bankrupt them with an obnoxious indemnity. Bismarck's dream of having a peaceful Europe with a unified Germany as its center is blighted by the hatred of France's Third Republic. And that hatred is going to be a constant thing until the end of World War I. This is not what Bismarck wanted! But except for this, he got everything else, pretty much. This new Germany is a colossus that will bestride Europe. France is no longer the most populous country in Europe. Germany is. France is no longer one of the competing powers for chief industrial power after Britain. They are outclassed in every way by the Germans. The Germans have a bigger economy, bigger steel industry, bigger army, bigger population, more productive population. The only people in Europe that can even challenge this new colossus, this Klein Deutschland Germany, whose capital is in Berlin, not Frankfurt, are the British Empire, which is at the height of its power, but eventually by around 1900 the Germans will compete with them. And in terms of just land area and raw population, nobody in Europe comes close to Russia. But with the exception of the British with their empire and the Russians with their empire that goes all the way to the Pacific, no one in Europe can stand against Germany. The sheer power of the new Germany cannot help but frighten all the countries around it. Not because under Bismarck they're dangerous, although they are, kind of, but because when you share a bed with a giant, and the Canadians often say this about the United States, when you're sleeping next to a giant, you might be squashed as the giant rolls over in his sleep, not even noticing. That's how people begin to look at Germany. And the fact that the Germans took Alsace-Lorraine and the indemnity from the French doesn't make it any better. So the victory in the Franco-Prussian War culminates Bismarck's dream, but complicates it too. That's all there is for today. Thank you for watching both videos, and God willing, we'll see you next Tuesday.